What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the pregame show. It is Wild Card Weekend in the NFL, and we are covering the first game, a pregame actually to the first, or pre-game tailgate to the first game on the playoff schedule, which is the Buffalo Bills visiting the Houston Texans. This is going to be a game that should be interesting as it features two highly elusive quarterbacks, two quarterbacks that thrive, getting outside of the pocket, making plays with their feet. And it's going to be something that is obviously a very interesting matchup, to say the least. And it's the start of the playoffs. And I mean, it doesn't get much better than that. The NFL playoffs are it's a time of year that is unlike any other. It is the start of a new season, essentially. And the playoffs are, obviously win or go home. And this is for all the marbles to get to that ultimate prize, to play in the Super Bowl. And this is the kickoff to this portion of the NFL season. But it's the Bills and the Texans. And then also at the same time, or the game following that, actually at 8:15 Eastern, will be Tennessee at New England, which is also another big matchup that people are looking forward to. A lot of people are picking Tennessee to come out of this game with the upset victory over New England. Yes, I say upset. I say upset because anytime you can go into Foxborough and beat the New England Patriots, especially in the postseason, that is something that is unexpected based on the history that they have there. But this is also I think only the fourth time in the Bill Belichick era that they are playing in the first week of the playoff, the NFL playoff schedule. So in the three previous times that they played a wild card game, they have never made it to the Super Bowl. So this is a situation that shows that history does not bode well for the likelihood of seeing another New England championship. But I'm really also liking the fact that Tennessee comes into this game on a bit of a roll. These guys have taken care of business to get themselves into the postseason. They're at the 6th seed spot, and they're running. Derrick Henry. Obviously, this guy is a machine when it comes to running the ball. This guy has had so many memorable runs over the past couple of seasons. And he is obviously considered probably the best running back in the NFL right now at the moment. So they definitely are going to lean heavily on that run game to go up against that New England defense that has played well throughout most of the season, but also has shown at times that they are vulnerable both in the run game and in pass coverage. So we'll see how it plays out, but expect the Patriots to blitz a lot. Expect the Patriots to try and disrupt the line of scrimmage, get penetration, because that's the only way you can stop a good running game, is to penetrate the line of scrimmage so that the running back cannot find lanes and cannot set up his blocks with his linemen. But I definitely think this is going to be a good game. I think it's going to be a good game for the fans. I think that it's going to be a great kickoff to the playoff season. And we've got a couple of really good games that are going to be going on today in the NFL. So with all that being said, let's take a look at this Buffalo Texans game. I think this one is going to actually be this one's going to be a really close game. I really feel like this game is really two teams that have a similar approach in how they play the game. The Texans are they have a high-powered offense to an extent. With their passing game, with Deshaun Watson back there at quarterback. Their wide receiving core is solid. I mean, one of the best in the league. And it's going to be, a battle. It's really going to be a battle that I don't think so much the fact that Houston is at home, I don't think that's going to make so much of a difference, because I've played in Houston a number of times, and it's not a hard place to play at. It doesn't get really supremely loud, because I guess the noise in their stadium goes up. It kind of floats upward because the way the stadium is built, the way that the stands are, it's not really towering over the field. It's kind of distant from the field. So I don't expect that the crowd will be a huge factor in the game. It is an advantage to play at home in the playoffs, obviously, but I think that if there's one place you want to go and play in your first week in the playoffs, out of all the games that are being played this weekend, playing in Houston is probably going to be the least damaging place to go and play in terms of having to take on that franchise. But the spread says that Houston is minus 2.5, so that rings true to the benefit of having that home game in the playoffs. Let's take a look at the chat, see what guys are saying in the chat. Everybody's loving it. It's the playoffs. It's playoff time. And feel free to drop a super chat to get a question posted up here that we can talk about during the live stream. But I really do think that this is going to be a great weekend of football. There is a lot going on with the matchups that we do have. Let's take a look and see what other matchups we got going on this weekend. We're going to have Minnesota going into New Orleans. I think that that's going to be a disaster for Minnesota, to be honest. I mean, Minnesota has quietly had a very good season. You haven't heard a lot about what they've been doing. Kirk Cousins turned his entire year around. There was a point early in the season when he was considered a lame duck quarterback, and there was a lot of talk about benching him. But the guy has actually, turned it around, has provided, the team with a hell of a quarterback presence, and it can't be said enough how much that means when the quarterback plays well, when he has a solid outing as a quarterback throughout the season. It really does help in lifting the franchise up. But on the other end of that, you got those New Orleans Saints, those Who Dat Saints. And when you got to go into that Superdome and play, and trust me, I've played there, it is not fun. It is quite jarring dealing with the noise levels that they have in that stadium. And I mean, you're just going to, it's almost like going into a buzzsaw. New Orleans is 95% of the time on their A game when they're playing at home. And that is probably the least likely upset that you're going to see in all of these games, I think, just simply because, that team is so efficient when they're out there playing. But, you got Drew Brees, you got Mike Thomas, you got all these guys out there that are just, all pro talent. And it's going to be, it's going to be hard for Minnesota to go into New Orleans and get anything done, in my opinion. But at the same time, you still got Diggs at wide receiver in Minnesota. The guy's a playmaker, and he has beaten the Saints. We all remember that last-second touchdown catch that won the game for the Vikings a few years back. That was an unfortunate situation for the Saints, as their safety was caught kind of in no man's land, had to make a decision on whether he was going to, take a shot to the head on the receiver or try and play it safe and just get him tackled after the catch. He tried to, take his legs out instead of going up top, and he ended up taking out his own guy. And, Diggs ended up taking that thing 61 yards to end the game. So definitely is not a situation that Saints fans want to remember. But, this is a team that has just as good a chance, if not could be considered a favorite to come out of the NFC, depending on how they can get through these couple of playoff games they're going to have to go through. Let's take a look here. Where are those Who Dats at? Where's the Who Dats? We got 49ers in here. We got Who Dat Saints. We got who else? Darth Mortis is picking the Bills, Pats, Vikings, and Seahawks. Ooh, it's a brave one there. It's a brave one there. Texans, we got a Texans fan in there, and Mike Martin. That's what's up. Good to see that. Let's see. Apollo's got the Saints. Let's see. Who else is in here? Who we got here? Oh, these guys aren't even in the playoffs. You shouldn't be posting that. Howdy DeWitt, how you doing? How you doing? But yeah, guys, this is gonna be a good playoff weekend. So I'm looking forward to it. Couple of things going on around the league. Chris McCaffrey was named to the All-Pro team at 2 positions, which that's pretty unique. So that's something that the Panthers can be happy about. They got a running back who actually, had a pretty damn good season, had 1,300 yards rushing, 15 touchdowns, and he caught 116 passes out of the backfield for over 1,000 yards receiving this year as well. That is freaking crazy. But, it says here that he is going to be All-Pro at Marshall Faulk was the only other. Marshall Faulk and Roger Craig were the only other running backs to do that, to run for over 1,000 and catch for over 1,000. But I would assume that he's going to be running back and he's also a kick returner, if I remember correctly. Who knows that? Who knows what his other position is? He's a flex player. Let's see here. So he's flex and running back. That's what they're giving him. I don't know what the hell that's supposed to mean with the flex thing, but definitely one of the best players in the league right now, Christian McCaffrey, but just on a team that's trying to figure itself out. The Saints, obviously, Drew Brees, you have a quarterback who has broken nearly every single passing record that there is, but somehow does not manage to make it onto the NFL all-time team, which I thought was a bit of a snub. But, that's just my Purdue bias coming out. As we all know, Drew Brees, Texas native like myself, and also a Purdue alumni also like myself. So got to show love to him. He's still wearing that gold and black. So at the end of the day, that's a lifelong thing for him. But damn sure that he's going to come with his A game in this game against Minnesota. I think it's a bit of a message of unfinished business for the Saints. They're going to come into this game with a bit of a chip on their shoulder, I would think, based on the things that have happened to them over the past couple of years. RC from NYC, what up? Boiler up, hammer down, baby. You already know. Now, let's take a look here. Another game that we haven't talked about yet that's going to be tomorrow afternoon, late game tomorrow, Seattle at Philly. That is another intriguing matchup. Just to be honest, another intriguing matchup. We've witnessed Philadelphia kind of elevate their game over the last few weeks. Carson Wentz has been playing with a purpose, and they have it's been an all-around team effort in them building and stepping up to be able to get themselves into the playoffs, to be able to beat out the Cowboys, win the division, and now they earn themselves a home game. For better or worse, whether you like it or not, when you win a division, you get a home game. The Seahawks had an opportunity to do the same against the 49ers, and they were unable to pull it out. So, both teams had their chance. One team may have a couple game lead on the other in terms of win-losses, but that's not how it works in the playoffs. It's not how it works in the NFL. If you win that division, you get your home playoff game regardless of your record. And, do I think that Seattle, do I think that teams with better records should get the first home playoff game? No, I don't. I think winning your division, that's the reward for winning. You get that first game at home. When I was in Jacksonville, my rookie year, we went 10-6 or 11-5. One of those, I can't remember. And one of our wins was against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Yet we still, at the end of the season, going into the playoffs, even after beating Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh, because we didn't win the NFC or the AFC South, we still had to go to Pittsburgh for the wild card game and play them in Pittsburgh, and we beat them again. So just a little note for you guys: the Jaguars are the only team in NFL history to beat Pittsburgh 2 times at home in Pittsburgh in the same season, and we have done that twice, in 2007 and in 2017, the year that we were robbed in the AFC Championship game by the New England Patriots. So just a little bit of a history fact there for you. A couple of injury updates as far as this weekend's games go. Zach Ertz is expected to play. He was medically cleared to play. I think he has missed some time with a broken rib and lacerated kidney during Week 16 when they beat Dallas. But he missed the last game, but he has now been cleared to play in their game against the Seahawks tomorrow. Let's see here. Who else? We have let's see. Just looking to check and see what news we got going on before these things start. But overall, it's going to be a fun game. Going to be a fun weekend, fun games. Got a message here from Mike Jackson, says Seattle can't complain. They once made the playoff with a losing record. If I remember correctly, that is true. They did once make the playoffs with a 7-9 record. If I remember correctly, they did not win. But, like RC from NYC says here, Philly is hot right now. Don't sleep on them. That has a lot to do with it. Momentum is huge going into the playoffs. And that's one of the reasons why there's such a debate over whether or not, a team should rest its players, like a team like Baltimore, whether they should rest their players going into the end of the season. And I think that that's a little bit of a double-edged sword, mainly because if you don't rest your players, there's a chance that in what essentially amounts to a preseason game, you could lose key players that you're going to need going into your playoff push. So that's one side of the story. But on the other side, you want to keep that momentum. You want to keep that consistency. You want to keep that chemistry going with your team, all the way through the season. And even in that last game, when you don't have anything to play for, your seating's already set, and there's not really anything to gain from having your guys play in that game. You still want to have a continuity of timing, continuity of contact, being used to that physical contact out on the field during the game. Those are things that you miss when you pull your guys. And, at the end of the day, you want to be very careful with whether or not you sit or you play your guys. And, having that momentum coming into the postseason, being able to keep that hot streak going is hugely important in your ability to get to the Super Bowl. Now, for the Eagles, these guys are hot. These guys are streaking right now, and they were able to, get into the playoffs. And now these guys probably are the biggest threat to any team right now in the playoffs. But again, that doesn't mean that they're going to win tomorrow, but it means that they have the potential to be a force to be reckoned with in the postseason. But let's go getting back over here to today's games. And I was I was kind of planning to kind of share part of that stream right there, because I've got the game, the pregame sitting up right now on my YouTube TV. But as we all know, last time I tried to run a live stream showing clips of anything, the wrath of YouTube came down quite harshly, and still have not heard back on my appeal from my Witcher live stream last week. So we're going to refrain from doing that. I may just do a quick something like that every now and again when they come back on the live show, but not going to let it sit up there very long. It says here, let's see. Oh, yeah, and then the injuries. There's a ton of injuries in that Eagles-Seahawks game, of course. But, hey, that's the way football is. Injuries come, got to deal with it, next man up. But I think that, both teams are going to play. I mean, they're going to play who they got. That's what it boils down to. Now, let's get back over here to this wild card matchup with the Bills and the Texans. Let's take a look at some stats here. See. The matchup predictor is giving Houston a 69.3% chance of winning the game. I guess you can say 60-40 anytime you're the home team in the playoffs. They got Deshaun Hopkins out there in Houston. That guy's going to be a huge factor along with Deshaun Watson. They're getting back J.J. Watt at the defensive end position. He's coming off of a torn pec, so he's going to be able to boost their pass rushing ability. I think the pass rush for the Texans suffered greatly without him in the lineup. And I'm not, obviously he's not going to be, it's not going to be the same J.J. Watt prior to him tearing his pec. But him being out there, his presence as a leader and, his hard work, which he's going to be out there working, he's going to have an effect on bolstering that defensive front, no doubt about it. But the Bills, and I've only seen a few games of the Bills this season. I did see both of their games against New England. Also saw their game against, I want to say, was it Kansas City? No, it wasn't Kansas City. No, it was New England. I think it was New England. But, the Bills, they have a good defense. They have a good defense. Their defense is was surprisingly stout, this season. Oh, Baltimore. The Baltimore game was another game that I saw with the Buffalo Bills. And, their defense was stout against Baltimore, holding the Baltimore offense to, minimal in terms of the ability, the amount of damage that they were able to do. They did a decent enough job playing against that read option, that dangerous read option from Lamar Jackson. And, at the end of the day, it came down to the fact that they could not, produce anything really consistent on offense. I think that when you get past pressure on Josh Allen, it does change the game a little bit for the Buffalo Bills. And it was evident when they played against Baltimore that, their offensive line is probably, in my opinion, their weak point, the weak point of that offense. A good defense that can put pressure on Josh Allen has a really good chance of forcing him into making bad decisions. And at the end of the day, you got to score points to be able to give yourself an opportunity to win the game in the end. And these guys had their defense held up for them the entire game against Baltimore, and they had ample opportunity to get a lead. They had ample opportunity to put themselves in position to win. But the fact that they could not get any kind of offensive consistency going, that doomed them. And that's going to be something that they definitely have to overcome in this game. They are going to need to show that they can move the ball down the field against a solid defense, and they can put the ball in the end zone, in the red zone. Red zone scoring is going to be absolutely paramount for any team in the playoffs, as you cannot expect to win a playoff game with field goals alone. It can happen. Not saying it's impossible. I'm saying that it's unlikely. And if you're on defense, you cannot expect to win or to give your team the best chance to win unless you can create a turnover. Creating one turnover in a playoff game enormously improves your chances of winning, because in the playoffs, and similarly to the regular season, but even more amplified in the playoffs, each turnover is like it's like a ×2 modifier for your chances to win the game. If this were an RPG game, if we were playing, like the Division 2 or any game where you can get a buff, those RPG style action games. This getting a turnover during a game in the playoffs on defense is like a ×2 modifier. Giving away the ball on offense in the playoffs is a ×2 modifier against you. It lowers your chances of winning that game by almost double. And, these are stats that have rang true for decades in the NFL. So at the end of the day, that Bills Mafia, they're going to have to put points on the board on offense without turning the ball over. And on defense, they're going to need to create turnovers. And at the end of the day, past all of that, you're going to need to have one explosive play in the special teams game. That means downing the ball inside the 10-yard line. That means getting more than 10 yards on a punt return, getting past the 35-yard line on a kick return, or scoring in either one, or blocking a kick. You're going to need one of those. It's the X factor, if you will, when it comes to special teams in the playoffs. If you can get one of those deciding things to happen, then you give yourself the best chance at winning the game. If you can't make it happen, then you won't. And that's really just how it plays out in the NFL all the time. So these playoffs are going to be, the playoffs are about playing perfect football. You have to play a perfect football to get yourself a win. And the difficulty level ratchets itself up each and every week. So this is going to be a hard game to win for any team this weekend. But next week, it'll be twice as hard. So you have to come with, some really strong, stout performances on both sides. Your playmakers have to show up. You can't have an average game in the playoffs if you're planning on winning. You're going to need to play an exceptional game, and then you're going to need to play an exceptional game on a regular basis, or you're going to struggle to win, and your season is going to be over with in a heartbeat. So just wanted to lay that out there. It says here, let's see. Somebody was asking. Okay, we got somebody with a little bit off topic here, and I'll put it out there. We're not talking about college football right now, but national championship game is coming up on the 13th, I believe. And let's see. Let's start over time. Off topic. This is Corey Sapila. Off topic, Uche, thoughts on the national championship game and the embarrassment that is Big 12 defenses. Look, I'm a Big 10 guy. I also do a lot of streams and work with the guys over on Sports Wars. So if you haven't subscribed to Sports Wars, look up Sports Wars on YouTube, subscribe to those guys. And we've had a pretty big argument over the course of this morning and early afternoon about, just that, about the college football landscape and, just the conferences, the power that the conferences have, the ability that each conference has. And our thing was, I'm a Big Ten guy, so I always promote Big Ten football. And these guys are SEC guys, so we're going back and forth arguing about SEC versus Big Ten. And, when you look at the situation with the national championship, you have a team in Clemson and a team in LSU that played great games in their playoff game. And, when it's all said and done, I think each conference is, I don't think there's a huge gap in the conferences in college football right now. And that is to be said for Pac-12, SEC, and the Big Ten. ACC, yeah, there's a gap there, but the top of the ACC obviously is Clemson, so they fill in that gap with their ability as a powerhouse college. But the Big 12, I would say, has the biggest, largest gap in talent and in productivity as a conference ever since the realignments of the Power Five conferences. And I think that, at the end of the day, when OU became the Big 12 champs and was scheduled to play LSU in the college football playoff, I can't say honestly that I didn't expect them to get blown the hell out, because the Big 12 is a garbage conference right now. It really is. They don't have any true, and I mean, they don't have any truly stout team in the Big 12. OU wins by default because the conference is so weak. And you saw, and that's evident because what happened when they got into a game with the LSU Tigers? It was a slaughtering of OU. It was a slaughtering of OU in ways that, honestly, I didn't think was imaginable for a team that's supposed to be allowed into the college football playoff. So at the end of the day, Big 12 sucks right now. I mean, I think if we're just being bluntly honest, the Big 12 is terrible right now. And the national championship game is the two best teams that are playing right now. Ohio State had their chance to beat Clemson, and it looked as if they were going to beat Clemson, but because of a mental error, what will go down in the books and how they grade out the quarterback and the receiver for Ohio State, that was a mental error, and it cost him because he threw a free, basically gave a free interception to Clemson, the safety for Clemson, and that sealed their fate. But at the end of the day, that championship game doesn't have anything to do with the NFL playoffs. So we're going to stick to the playoffs. Like I said, this game is about 20 minutes or so away from starting. So we're going to keep going here until that game starts. And I might even keep the stream going. If you guys want, I'll keep the stream going while I watch the game, and I'll give you my own commentary as we go. So let me know in the chat if that's something you want to see. If it is, let me get a hell yeah. And we will keep this stream rolling throughout the course of this game. And, I got a box of pizza in back here. I'm going to pull up the pizza. Got some soda. I'm going to sit here, check this game out, give you guys my thoughts, let you guys know what I think as we watch it. And, we can enjoy this game together. So let me know what you guys think about that. And, we can decide whether or not we're going to keep this thing rolling. Now, obviously, I can't show you the game. I can't show you the game, but I will commentate. I'm sure all of you are going to be watching the game. And if you're watching the game at your home, however you're doing it, you can keep up with me. But I'll give you my thoughts as we go through the game. And I really want to try and do this for all the games during the playoffs. So let me know if that's something that you guys want to know about, or something you guys want me to do. And again, it's going to be me, and I might have a couple of guys jump on here who are available from Sports Wars. Might have a couple guys jump on here from some old teammates. I'm going to check with them now. Let's see here. Let's see. Let's see. Let's check the chat, see what's going on. Put the monitor over my shoulder. Hey, man, I wish I could, but I already tested YouTube last week. I really didn't even test them. They kind of they did some bullshit and kind of they pulled down my Witcher, my live stream on the Witcher show. They pulled it down saying that I was running some type of scam. They said I was doing some deceptive practices, scams, and something else was the reason why they pulled it. And I was doing a commentary. Let's see here. Juice says, ever heard of Ingraven Vids? No, I have not, Juice. I have not heard of that. One Hound of the Valinor. I appreciate it, man. Just dropping by to say congratulations on 5K. I know nothing about football, so no point in me staying. Hey, I can't argue against that. But it'd be a great time to learn about football. It's the playoffs. It's probably the best time to learn about football. It's during the playoffs. Let's see here. So we're waiting on this game to start up. I pretty much have run out of stuff to talk about in terms of the game itself. So I'm in anticipation of watching it just like you guys are. And, really, at the end of the day, it's playoff weekend. So we're going to hang out together. We're going to check this thing out. Just showing a couple seconds here. Oh, that's against my damn Jaguars. Oh, that hurts. We're not going to watch that again. Let's get that out of here. But the Chiefs got the bye week this week. Who else? Chiefs got the bye. The Green Bay Packers got the bye. The Ravens got the bye. And the Niners got the bye. So those teams are off this week. They will take on the winners of this wild card weekend. Soki1 got a question here. It says, is having the AFC and NFC games on separate days rather than having one game apiece on each day an indication of perceived quality or audience draw? No, I don't think it's a perception of the quality of the teams. Honestly, I think it has a lot more to do with setting up the best situation for TV ratings. They want people to be able to, they want to have large enough crowds for each game. They don't want to have, they don't want to have it set up to where one side of the country is not able to watch a different game. And I think that in this case, let me look at the schedule. In this case, you have today Buffalo, Houston. These are two teams which would normally you would not see their games at the same. You would not see their games if you were on one side of the country. I think they want the entire country to get each team. And I also think what you look at the Sunday games. The Sunday games, no. Honestly, I don't know. I would think ratings has something to do with it in the way that they divide up the games. But I could be wrong. Could be wrong. I mean, obviously, New England's going to be playing late because they're New England. Houston and Buffalo are not considered necessarily primetime level teams, so they're not going to get a late game. And then tomorrow, New Orleans is considered a primetime team for the most part, but Minnesota is not. So they kind of got that early game, and then you got the late game again. Seattle, because they're on, Seattle is coming from the West Coast to play on the East Coast. I think that has more to do with why their game is at the 4:40 spot. Minnesota and New Orleans are in, they are in that similar region. They're not separated by coast, so I think that's why they have the early game tomorrow. But obviously Seattle. Anytime Seattle is playing in a game like this, they're definitely going to make sure that Seattle they have enough time to, for their bodies to adjust to be able to play that game. So I think that has more to do with why they're playing late. Tennessee, New England, same thing. Like it's a late game because of New England's prowess as a franchise, I would think. That was a lot of talking to try and explain something that I really am not sure that I even understand. So pardon me on as far as that goes, guys. Let's see here. Got some reporting. There's a little bit. Got about 20 minutes left for this thing to start up. Just wanted to drop that in there. Let's see here. James Webb says, who's y'all Super Bowl favorites? I think a lot of people are sleeping on Kansas City. You could be right about that. I think that Kansas City is kind of a little bit under the radar right now just because, that excitement over Patrick Mahomes and his, unbelievable talent has kind of simmered just a little bit. He had an injury this year, so he missed some games. Defense isn't playing as well as they, had hoped. There's just been a lot of other storylines that have kind of superseded the fanfare that they usually get from the media going into the second half of the season. But they have had a very solid second half to their season, and they are definitely one of the biggest threats in the playoffs. I mean, they're to an extent they are being slept on. Thoughts on Tom Coughlin? You know what? As a 7-year veteran out of Jacksonville, I got to say that was absolutely the right move. I got to say that based on what I know and what I've heard about Tom Coughlin in his initial era in Jacksonville back in the 90s and how he left the team, I got to say that I think it was a mistake to ever bring him back to Jacksonville. His way of coaching is an ancient, long extinct style of football. Like that, it just does not work like that. This guy had the entire Jaguars organization messed up. He had the clocks set 5 minutes ahead so as to make sure that guys, and this was a motto that I heard. This is one of the things that I heard that Tomlin was all about, even in, when I was in Jacksonville, because there were still some stories about Tomlin and, Coughlin, I'm sorry, Tom Coughlin. I'd heard about that 5 minutes early thing that he did when I got to Jacksonville from the few players that were still on the team from his era, and it was that he would say that if you're not 5 minutes early, you're late, which mathematically that is just simply not correct. So definitely he was not someone who the fans really appreciated that much because of how he left the franchise. From what I heard, he left the franchise in total disarray in terms of salary cap, as they had nothing in their salary cap. He spent a ton of money on players who didn't pan out, and then he left out and went to New York. So the guy just did not fit. His style does not fit in this modern day of the NFL, and that is evident because of what happened and how the NFLPA put the entire league on notice, and it was a huge blow to the credibility and to the reputation of the Jaguars organization, and that is solely because of him. So Shad Khan did the right thing in getting rid of him immediately without delay. And I think that it is he's given Doug Marrone a reprieve, a 1-year reprieve, to show that he deserves to be the coach of the Jaguars, which I think is fair. I don't necessarily agree with it, but it is fair. Give him 1 year, him and the GM, 1 year. Tom Coughlin's gone. You no longer have that interference, and let's see what you guys can do. So we'll see how that plays out. But I think it was the right move to get rid of Tom Coughlin immediately. And, that was that. Pat says, what's your thoughts on the Browns coaching search? And did you as a player ever hear of the dysfunction in their organization or hear their players complain about the organization? I didn't know many guys who came from Cleveland when I played. It's just kind of been that thing that Cleveland just is not managing their franchise very well, and they're just not making the right decisions. I can empathize with the players that are in that situation. I can empathize with guys like Joe Thomas when he played, because you are a good player on a bad team and you're stuck. And that's kind of the situation I was in my last 3 years in Jacksonville. A lot of guys, Maurice Jones-Drew, myself, Mike Sims-Walker, Daryl Smith, who was able to get out and go to Baltimore and be an anchor in the Baltimore defense for many years. But it's hard. It's hard. But no, I did not know players out in Cleveland, and I did not really. I mean, we just kind of knew that the Browns were the Browns, and that's really how it was. Let's see here. Jameis Winston, 5,000 yards passing. Yeah, Jameis Winston threw for 5,000 yards, 30 touchdowns, and 30 interceptions. So at the end of the day, doesn't it all just cancel itself out? I mean, he's just an inconsistent, streaky quarterback. That's what, aside from any stats. Look, you got to understand, stats only really carry so much weight. You have to put them into context. Statistics, a running back who doesn't gain 1,000 yards in a season or who's just under 1,000 yards, it doesn't mean he's not as good as a running back who does have 1,000+ yards. Maybe this guy was used in a different capacity as a running back. I know, for instance, and I mean, it's not, the numbers won't match up, but Maurice Jones-Drew was a, multifaceted running back. We would put him, he would run the ball, he would catch the ball. We'd put him in the slot sometimes. The guy was an all-around player that you could use to benefit you in many ways. So, that can be the same for a number of different running backs across the league, and a number of different players across the league where their statistics won't necessarily give you the full context of their importance to the team that they play on. But looking here, and I see somebody talking about Suggs. Suggs is now in Kansas City. He's a guy who, at this point in his career, he can give you a couple of good quarters. He's going to be limited in his reps out on the field, but the guy can give you a couple of all-pro quarters if he's in at the right time, if it's the right kind of play, if you help put him in that position. Suggs, when I played and we played against the Ravens we played against the Ravens probably 4 or 5 times in my career. And Suggs was always a huge threat. But Suggs, over the course of his career has become more of a specialized defender. Not a huge run stopper, but he is a force in the pass game. And I think in the playoffs, that's going to bode well for him. That kind of situation will bode well for him because you only need him to make 1 or 2 big plays to help get you over the hump in any playoff game that you have. Do I think Goodell needs to have an emergency meeting with the Raiders and Chargers owners and have the team switch cities for Chargers' sake? No. I don't really understand why. Well, I do understand why, but I don't understand why Goodell allowed the Chargers to move to L.A., keep them in San Diego where they actually got fans. In L.A., they don't have any fans. Doesn't really do anything for you. Doesn't really work for you. The Raiders, I think the Raiders actually will do well in Las Vegas. I think it is actually a pretty solid move to send them to Las Vegas. somehow the team just kind of fits there, in my opinion. So will be interesting to see what and how that plays out for Oakland. But I really think it's a good decision for them to be in Las Vegas. In San Diego, the LA Chargers, that's a bad look. They should have never went that route. 30th interception coming on a pick six and ending the game. Yeah, that's pretty much, that sums up Jameis Winston's entire career. Streaky, at times brilliant, and at times utterly disappointing to watch him play football. And, I think that, I think in a lot of cases when you don't have when you have a player who's streaky like Jameis Winston is, I think that comes down to his film study. I think it comes down to his commitment to becoming the best player he can be off of the field. I think that's huge for players in today's NFL. Even when I was playing, which I've only been retired 5 years, so it's relatively the same today as it was back in 2014. But definitely it comes down to his film study. I think it comes down to his and I'm not saying he doesn't study film. I'm just saying that inconsistency is because inconsistency as a player usually stems from unpreparedness and lack of constant repetition for certain situations. If you watch the replay on that pick six he threw, for maybe the slightest, and I mean the slightest amount of time, his tight end was open, and he wasn't even really open. He had just gotten behind a defender, but he throws it late, and the defender recovers and breaks on it. He broke on the pass, and maybe that defender was actually baiting him into that throw by sliding inside a little bit to make him think that he was, that he wasn't going to cover that tight end or that receiver. But as soon as Jameis starts to even begin his rotation to throw the ball, that defender is breaking forward, which is an indication that he baited him into that throw. So definitely, a situation that just goes to, once again, prove that the guy is, right now, I don't think he's worth $30 million a season, and that's what he's going to want, and I just don't think it's going to happen. Let's see here. Michael Martin says, am I going to watch the Texans-Bills games? Yes, I am going to watch the game, and I am planning on keeping this stream alive while we watch the game so I can kind of give you guys my play-by-play as the game goes on. And I'm laughing because Corey Sapilo says, nah, as a Falcons fan, their secondary can't bait a fish, which is funny. So, but yeah, I'm going to be watching the game, and I'm going to keep the stream going. Obviously, the game is not going to be on the screen for you guys to see. So if you're watching the game as well, you will hear me give a commentary on, pretty much every play, and I'll try my best to give you guys as clear cut a perspective on each play as I can. I've played against both these teams multiple times, and with the Texans, their scheme. I've known a lot about their scheme for a very long time, and it's a team that I'm very familiar with, and the Bills as well. So I'll definitely do what I can to make sure that I give you guys my play-by-play as we go. We have got our first super chat of the stream. Howdy do it? $2. Thank you very much. Howdy do it says, I'm glad you agree Steve Young is the GOAT. And yes, indeed. I grew up a Steve Young fan. I grew up a 49ers fan, a 49er fan, living in the city of Dallas, born and raised in the city of Dallas. So you know that was a hard life. But Steve Young is my all-time favorite football player. And definitely, yes, howdy do it. Appreciate that $2 super chat. We are both united in that opinion. Or should I say in that fact that Steve Young is the GOAT. Joe Montana was a GOAT too. You know, how blessed were the 49ers franchise to have Joe Montana win what? 4 Super Bowls? And then follow that up with Steve Young, who got you another Super Bowl. Just shows that, that there are certain kinds of caliber players that you think they only come by once in a lifetime, but for certain franchises, they have had the amazing luxury of being able to fill the most important role on the field with another great player. And yes, how do you do it? You are damn right. Jeff Garcia was no slouch either. Jeff Garcia was another really good quarterback for the 49ers. Didn't have the opportunity to get into the Super Bowl for him, but the guy could ball. And the guy played the game with the same kind of competitive nature as a guy like Steve Young did. And he was also left-handed, which was huge. So I'm a lefty myself. So definitely big shout out to the San Francisco, the lefties out in San Fran. Barry Sanders, Darth Mortis. Barry Sanders is my favorite player. Barry Sanders is obviously a once-in-a-lifetime talent. That's a guy who has, who changed the way that the running back position was perceived. People told him all his life he was too small, and the guy proved everyone wrong and then some by coming out there and balling out in a way that a lot up until that point nobody had ever seen in the NFL. So shout out to Barry Sanders. All right, so this game is about to start here in a second, guys. I am going to go and grab my pizza and grab my soda, and we're going to keep this stream going. I'm going to stop the camera and the mic for a second while we're going here, but you guys feel free to stick around because we're going to watch this game, and we're going to watch this game, and I'm going to see if I can get a couple other former players to jump in here as well. So you guys just hang tight, and I'll be right back. All right, guys, here we go. Here we go. First play. Buffalo got the ball. See what we got. Okay, swinging it to the running back. Good play. Give yourself. Oh. Yeah, that's a good first play. Easy play to make for a quarterback. Easy play to make. Swing it to the running back. Get you, and it looked like that was a designed play because of the way the receivers blocked. But that was definitely a good start. Good first play. Make it a second down. Can run play action or run. They run the ball. Frank Gore getting the first down. That's good. So that is definitely a good start. Get your first down. Stay out of third down. There you go. They're averaging 19.6 points a game. Shit, how did they get in the playoffs? Mm-hmm. If I was Buffalo, I would try to. I would do as much 3-step as possible in the passing game because you don't want them to get rushed on the quarterback. Oh, here they go. Here they go. Uh-oh, he's gone. He's gone. Woo! That's a great play. That's called the quarterback boss blast. You pull your center, you pull your tackle. That's a blast play. Yeah, quarterback blast. That boy has some wheels. This is a good first drive by Buffalo. Oh, they're doing a lot of lateral runs. They're going lateral a lot. You do that when you don't think that a linebackers or that a team's linebacking core is good at running. Is good at running laterally. There they go, lateral again. Throwing back to the quarterback. Touchdown. Wow. Trick played him. Okay, Buffalo. They said we playing to win. Like I said, look at their stadium. Their stadium is not that hard to play in because everything is so far away from the field. So the crowd noise isn't a big issue. That was good. I mean, everything was lateral on that drive. They were moving left and right to stretch the defense. That can definitely work to their benefit, mainly because it causes the backside to have to be disciplined in order to stop a play like that. And, you know, it doesn't matter that Josh Allen can it doesn't matter that he can run the ball. They're not going to necessarily keep an eye on him when they have these 3 or 4 plays that are going, east and west, stretching the D. He's on the back side of it. You've got a receiver, and you got a receiver with the ball in his hands. So the defense is going to react to try and cut him off running laterally. So that was really a good play by Buffalo. A good series, really a perfectly called series, to be honest. Just really impressive in the way that they attacked the edges of Houston's defense. They had a couple of runs. They had a run with Frank Gore up the middle, 2 runs up the middle in that series. But overall, just an impressive start. Doesn't mean they're going to win the game, but impressive start nonetheless. Now Houston has to respond. Houston has to respond with points, and Buffalo's defense is pretty good. So we'll see how these guys are able to respond to that. It's going to be a challenge. So we'll see. We will see. What do you guys think about that drive? Relax. Here comes the comeback. Josh Allen is the white Lamar Jackson. Yeah, the defensive end is supposed to. He has to. Yeah. He doesn't see the quarterback. He doesn't see the quarterback. Yeah. And that had to be a good pass. It had to be a good pass, or it would have been ugly. But like I said, when you're running the team laterally, lateral runs, lateral plays force the defense they have to stay disciplined. If they don't stay disciplined, you can run those kind of plays like they ran to score. Makes it easier. So now we got Deshaun Watson. Here he comes. Let's see what he's going to do. The Buffalo defense is good now. Poyer is a good player. Let's see what they do. Solid. Got 5 yards. They bring a sawdust, or they bring a nickel blitz. Oh, nice run. Nice run. Got to be able to run the ball. And really, that should have been a tackle right there. Second and 6. Third and long. I guess that was play action. That's bad. Oh, that's terrible. That's terrible, 78. That's terrible. No. See, look, on those kind of plays, that's a bootleg. On that play, you have to overreach on the defensive end because you have help on the inside. You have no help over the top. So you have to beat him to the spot on that reach block, or that's going to happen. Their offensive line is – that's all Deshaun Watson. O-line is left them out to dry right there. $78 again, just getting beat instantly. Come on, man. $78 is looking like the weak spot on that O-line, and he's supposed to be a Pro Bowler. Pulling to block nobody. Second and 9. O-line has to give that cat some time. And, you know, for you guys out there who don't know, I watch the O-line more than I watch where the ball is. Let's see. They got 3 down, 2 linebackers lined up. They're rushing both linebackers. Oh, they're rushing 6. Incomplete. That was good coverage. That was holding. He had his hand around his waist. But this is the playoffs, though. This is the playoffs. See, now this is what I don't like about the NFL right now. You should not be able to challenge this. You shouldn't be able to challenge this. If they didn't call pass interference, you shouldn't be able to challenge whether it is or not. So right there, guys, like, I don't feel like the NFL benefits from being able to challenge something that wasn't called. Why should you be able to challenge whether it was pass interference when it wasn't called on the field? The point should be if pass interference was, if pass interference was called, then you should be able to challenge if it was actually pass interference. If there was no pass interference called, what are you challenging? You shouldn't even be able to challenge it. Makes no sense. That extends the game unnecessarily. And at the end of the day, you want somebody to decide whether or not, whether or not it was a flag when there wasn't, when the referees in real time didn't deem it to be pass interference. It has to be egregious enough that it's obvious that he interfered. I mean, these guys, it's the playoffs for one. These games are going to be more physical. These games are going to be more borderline in terms of actual penalties than anything you find in the regular season. And, for them to just give them a pass interference call when it wasn't deemed that way live on the field, that kind of breaks the concept of it, of challenging, because you're supposed to be challenging a call, not a no call. So I don't agree with it one bit. And while we're on the game, while the game is going, I won't have my camera on because I'm going to be stuffing my face with pizza. And, I'd rather y'all not see that. So when we get back into the games, when we're not in the game and we're on commercial, I'll come back on camera. But while we're in the game, I will be like a commentator and I will be just giving you my analysis. So now it's punting. So, Buffalo is in a different, oh, wow. It's delay a game. Bad. If that's delay a game, that's bad coaching again. Oh, it is delay a game. Wow, that's terrible. So now we should be seeing. Yeah, they didn't give him the pass interference. All right. So they should be. Oh, Brian Anger is still playing? That was my teammate in Jacksonville. Okay, Anger. He's a punter, so figures. Go figure. How do you consider Dallas a quality win? A quality win at Dallas. Dallas didn't even make the playoffs. Pittsburgh didn't even make the playoffs. Bills Mafia. So I like what they're doing. They're giving him quick throws. They're giving him quick decisions to make. And they're not exposing their offensive line by having him do a lot of drop backs. I think that with JJ Watt coming back, don't expect too much unless this right tackle just doesn't have anything. But I wouldn't expect too much because he's not gonna. He's getting bodied. Did you watch JJ Watt get bodied? Oh, they bodied his ass. Woo! Watch the right side. Great blocking. Sit him down. Good. That's good. That's good. That's great. That's great. He didn't even need his guard to help. He had him blocked up from the jump. Like I said, don't expect too much from J.J. Watt in this game if you're a Texans fan. Uh-oh. See, I never agreed with that rule change, but because it's now a penalty on the offense and the defense, I can accept it. But that used to be one of my go-to moves, was a quick jab to the face and then grab them around there and then grab grab them by the collar, stand them up. Oh, that pass was too hot. Second and 20. I would be looking maybe for a screen, a draw, or a quick pass, maybe something to the. I would go screen or outside, something to the outside. That's what I would go for. I didn't think you got the timeout. All right, so these guys are in the third and long. I thought it was a delay game. Probably coach that called timeout before the quarterback did. That's probably why they didn't call it. But I think at this point, second and 20 or it's second and 20? I think that you got to throw a screen here, or you got to run the ball, a quick run, something quick to the outside, because if you don't get a quick something quick, then you're not going to have a chance to really gain too much back on third down. If I was them, I'd be looking mainly to a screen or something quick in the seam or at the sideline. You don't want to go to the middle of the field on second and long. Defense might be sitting in a cover 3 or a 3 buzz, which closes down the middle of the field. So we'll see. We'll see what they do. Commercials suck. So you see how those linebackers flow over the top? That's what lateral moving plays do to a defense. They're going to force the backside to be disciplined. If you're not disciplined on the backside, which they probably saw that in film, that when the ball goes away, they don't have a lot of pursuit from their backside, or they have over pursuit from their backside, which may allow you to get something going back against that. So, okay. Second and 20. Yeah, you want to get something quick because of him too. But again, that rookie's gonna have help on the inside at right tackle. Yep. Oh, almost blew it up. Now you just want to run a draw. Now you just want to run a draw. Now you just want to run something safe because you're not getting the first down unless you get a lot of yak, and that's likely not going to happen. Ooh, that went right through his hands. Y'all hear that fan cussing from the sideline? Somebody's cussing. Oh. Oh. Cowboys. Overrated and not very good, but whatever. Let's see here. Let's see what they do. Bills Mafia, you're up. Nothing. Lost the yard. Ninth overall pick out of University of Houston. That's impressive. Turned a bad pass into a good pickup. Let's watch the old line here. Buffalo's lined up in that rock and roll. He did that guitar thing. They're bringing the blitz. They should be sliding right and put the last guy. Solid play by Houston. We got 4 down linemen and 2 linebackers lined up for the blitz. Looks like cover 3. They're bailed back. Yep. There you go. Good pass rush. Got to keep him contained, though. Yeah, he's out of bounds. Got him. They've got good pass rush right now. They've got good pass rush right now coming from Buffalo. They're getting up on the edge. Deshaun's been able to get around it by scrambling, but eventually what they're trying to do is they're just trying to filter them back to the DTs. It was a good rush. Good rush. If it's an incomplete there, maybe they go for it, but with a sack, nah, no way. Oh. So with what the Bills got right now, basically, and this actually works to help Houston, keeping them pinned in their own territory. Obviously, the Bills are not the kind of offense that's going to take it 90 yards. Corey, see you later, brother. I see Corey Sapila's gone, but yeah. The Bills aren't taking the ball 90 yards. I think that Houston knows that. So for right now, they're okay with just keeping them back there. Their defense is good enough to keep them from pushing forward unless they give up a huge play. I don't see, the Bills necessarily being able to just run their offense and go down the field. They're going to need to have some explosives. They're going to have to, Houston's going to have to miss some tackles. And that's pretty much how it's going to have to be played. What I think I'm going to do here, guys, is I'm going to stick with this for the first quarter. We'll end the stream at the end of the first quarter. I appreciate you guys all being on here. I do my podcast every Tuesday and Thursday at around 12 noon, usually between 12 and 12:15 on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Once the season ends, I'm going to try and put together some stuff for the draft, for the combine, those things, for the NFL offseason coming up. And we will I'll try and deliver you guys as much content as I can in that regard. Just kind of give you guys a little bit about my experience with the combine, my experience with the draft as well in my videos. But all of the live things that I'm going to do are going to be with streams going over, maybe like top 10 offensive linemen for the draft, my top 10, things like that. But we'll get into more of that as the time comes. But we're going to go with this game until the end of the first quarter, and then we'll end the stream then. But I appreciate you guys once again. Let's get back to it. And Darth Mortis, I might be in Vegas during the draft, but I'm not coming because of the draft. And there we go. That is the end of the first. So again, guys, like I said, I appreciate everybody for being on the stream. Appreciate you guys checking out my, pregame analysis of this weekend's actions. And you know what? I will be back on for the first quarter of the Tennessee-New England game. And I'll try and get a couple guys to jump on with me. I might hit up a couple of my old teammates if they want to jump on. We'll see how that plays out. But I appreciate you guys checking out the stream, and I will see you guys tonight for Tennessee and New England. So be ready for that. Appreciate you very much. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.